Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat.
Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbos, Rabbi.
Help us as you always do. Find someone you're sitting near who you may or may not know. Introduce yourself to them and become more of a community together. So nice. There's lots of space on the grass. So, okay, enough fun. I wanted to start with something tonight before we get into our Shabbos worship and to our meditation. It's a Kaya Shabbat. It's a relaxed Shabbat. It's casual. It's chill. It's nice. It's also Pride Shabbat. We celebrate the LGBTQ community and recognize the importance of that. And we'll finish with some stories from individuals who are part of our community that we celebrate as well. But that being said, of course, today was a historic day, unfortunately, what happened. And so I felt like sort of wanted to clear the air and begin with some thoughts on that, and then turn to Shabbat and our prayers, if you give me that permission. So, sort of a statement, and sorry to be so formal in this moment, but I felt it was important. So we all knew this was coming, but today's Supreme Court ruling is still a gut punch. We grew up with the right. I never expected to have to resume that fight. But here's what I know. While we're disappointed in our country's institutions and we question whether or not we can count on them is unsettling, we know in this community we can count on each other, that we're in this together. And we'll work on making this right and protecting reproductive choice relentlessly. This is a Jewish value. The decision of when and if to become a parent is one of the most important many of us will make in our lifetimes. The Supreme Court ruling violates our Jewish values. Which insists that we put a pregnant person's life and well-being before the potential life of an embryo or a fetus. Stripping away the right to abortion is a direct attack on the fundamental dignity and freedom of all Americans. It will cause cruelty and suffering to millions through immediate, profoundly harmful abortion bans and limits. Pregnant women, trans, non-binary people will die as a result of this decision. The Supreme Court decision is, of course, the culmination of a decades-long campaign by a small, extremist group to impose their religious and cultural values on the majority of Americans who support abortion rights. This faction has demonized people seeking reproductive care and built barriers that especially hurt people who are already marginalized: pregnant women, trans individuals, non-binary people who are struggling to make ends meet, who are black or indigenous, people of color, who have disabilities, who live in rural areas, who are young, who are undocumented. Make no mistake, these justices and the movement they represent have made it very clear what they plan to destroy and the other essential rights of people in a free society, including many hard-won LGBTQ+ rights that we celebrate tonight. At Temple Shir Shalom, we will fight to preserve these vital rights even as we continue to combat cruel, fear-mongering laws targeting any community. We will continue to play an active role in the Jewish Abortion Access Coalition, along with 150 plus other organizations that are led by the National Council of Jewish Women. Thank you, Sally Jo Levine, the president of our local chapter here. I didn't even know she'd be in the front row. It's like, to all abortion care workers and reproductive justice advocates, we say kol kavod, our deepest respect. In the face of extremist demonization, violence, attacks from the highest court in our land, your courage protects pregnant people's human rights and their families' well-being, and you are a blessing. We will fight to reverse this court decision and ensure abortion access for all. We call on our elected officials and appointed leaders to protect abortion using the powers that they now hold. And we ask you to sign a petition to get this ballot on the protection of reproductive choice, to change this law in the state of Michigan. If you haven't signed the petition yet, we have it available to do so this evening in the back of the garden. So we say, Chazak v'amatz, let us be strong and courageous as our ancestors have done since the days of Pharaoh, and continue to do so throughout all our generations. We can count on each other. That is a truth we know. For support, for strength, for wisdom to guide us through so that we can make this right. Amen. And so, as the sun sinks and the colors of day turn, we offer a blessing for the twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories or between place and place. We are crisscross paths of memory and destination, streaks of light and swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither, and all. And so with those thoughts, we begin our Shabbat, we begin our prayers, we begin our meditations.
Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way, where you walk, where you stand, where you love and where you pray. All of life is holy ground. Every he, every she, everyone, every who, it's in her, it's in them, it's in me, it's in you, in the bitter, in the sweet, in the calm and in the storm. All of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground.
As we begin Shabbat, let's pause for a moment and recognize the goodness that does exist in ourselves and in our community, in who we are as a people, and who we are in our openness as well. Maybe for a moment, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, breathing in God's gift to each and every one of us, breathing out our gift to this world. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, even widen our vision. May the in-between light, the in-between time, illuminate our way to a spirit who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who've come to pray be lifted up into this light, because we cannot always define. We cannot always say what we are or who, but we can always recognize a blessing. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on twilight, brings on moments, who gives us Shabbat. So as we breathe, as we think, recognize those blessings that are a part of who we are, part of our individuality, part of our sense of community, part of our love. create that moment for yourself and for one another together.
We are one journey, one story, one tapestry we weave, one people, one glory, one legacy we leave. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place and every way, where you walk, where you stand, where you love and where you pray. All of life is holy ground. Can you feel the holy ground? Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground.
As we come together on this Shabbat and we meditate our Kaya services, we don't necessarily use a prayer book. Of course, if you're online, you can access our Shabbat prayer book there. But for us, it's a time just to be together, to sing the prayers, to hum along, or just to listen and to meditate. I found a few readings that I wanted to intersperse with what we do tonight as well, as I've already shared some too. And this one comes from Kol Neshama, the Progressive Synagogue in Jerusalem, and as a way to come together. We come together this Shabbat, each bringing to this garden a private world of hopes and of fears, of dreams. Some of us are burdened by anxieties and cares that all but crash our faith in the future. Others have hearts filled with happiness, grateful for the joys of the past week, yet aware that even the most fortunate are vulnerable before the mystery of tomorrow. Every life is a unique blending of joy and sorry, of fulfillment and frustration. But beneath our uniqueness, we're all bound together by our common humanity. That recognition, and all of us most deeply yearn for blessings of freedom and of peace. Each of us seeks personal liberation of a mind that's not enslaved to conventional wisdom, a heart that's able to love without fear, a spirit that cries, yes, to the universe. Each of us strives for the inner peace that comes with finding harmony between our aspirations and our abilities. This is what Shabbat can bring to our lives. You know, sometimes when we look just to the words and the prayers that are in a prayer book, maybe we get stifled, or maybe they lift us up. So that's what Shabbats like this are about, that we can be in our own minds, our own words, and whenever enter them, we say, Gam Zeh Kadosh, this too is holy. So with that in mind, we come together as a community for our call to worship for the Baruch Hu. As if we're able, we rise now together.
Lai, 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Interesting, the tradition of finishing the Ve'ahavta in Hebrew, chanting of it, we then say the word emet, which means truth. And the concept was the last words of the Ve'ahavta, I am the Lord your God, and we recognize that truth, but also saying that we're speaking or quoting Torah. It's not me saying that necessarily, right, in the midst of our prayers, but the idea of what is truth and what we recognize as truth. And I was thinking of that in preparation for the Hashkivenu, that prayer that recognizes that we don't necessarily know what tomorrow is. And truth is, in a sense, what we hold on to today and recognize, but sometimes unsure of. But Judaism tells us our truth can be eternal as well. What are the truths that are eternal in our lives? What is that recognition? Whatever happens tomorrow that we understand as true. The fact that every human is created b'tselem Elohim in the image of God, that we learn in the first chapter of Torah, reminding us that we're all the same. We all come from the same place. Such an important value and lesson that we hold on to, not just on a day like today where we say it's a Pride Shabbat, and we recognize that so importantly, but the reality that we should be saying that every single day, and recognizing how important it is that we're created in the image of God and what that means for our life. I love the midrash that says that why is it that humanity is created on day 6, but fleas were on day 5? Because don't think you're that good, because fleas got here first. Don't think you're so special. You know, the idea of we need to be knocked down to size sometimes and reminded of the fact that we're in this together, and that all humanity is equal and has potential and has possibility and has love and has blessings. So when we say Hashkivenu, we hold on to that truth. For no matter what happens tomorrow, no matter how some institutions might disappoint us at times, we know what truth is and what we stand up for and believe in. And we understand the values that will always be a part of who we are as a people, as a community, and that we hold on to as individuals, so that we can say strongly and even peacefully at night, let us lie down in peace, God. Permit us to wake up in the security of knowing that we are safe and loved. Be a shield around us. Keep enemies, disease, violence, homelessness, hunger far away from those we love. Be our shelter. Ufros alenu sukat shlomecha. Engulf us in peace. Protect us in peace. Be a part of who we are in peace as we go to sleep, as we wake up.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamitenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamitenu malkeinu l'chaim Ufros aleinu Sukat shalom lecha L'chaim shalom Me'ata v'yad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamitenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamitenu malkeinu l'chaim Ushmor tziteinu Uvoreinu L'chaim shalom Me'ata v'yad olam Me'ata v'yad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamitenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamitenu malkeinu l'chaim
I ask you again to maybe close your eyes if you're so comfortable doing. To breathe in deeply through your nose, and maybe out calmly through your mouth. In a moment, we'll join together in what we call our central prayers of worship, the Amidah. On a normal day, there are the Shmona Esrei, 18 benedictions that are said. 18 different prayers, different subjects that are articulated by the rabbis that enter our prayer book. On Shabbat, we cut some of those out as they're not things we think of on the Sabbath, they say. It's not as holy. So think about what might those prayers be. There are prayers of gratitude for our ancestors and those who had a relationship with God and what they set in motion for us. Prayers of strength, of healing. There are prayers of thanksgiving and appreciation for what is in our world. There's prayers of peace, of what we hope for. So as you meditate for a moment, if you were to write those benedictions, what would your prayers be? What would you personally write down that you'd say each day? What would be the blessing that you give thanks for? What's the petition that you ask for? Hold on to those. Keep thinking as we begin our own prayers. We'll join with tradition in a moment, too.
The thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering the song in the silence of the night. And eternity utters the day. Eternity utters the day.
Please rise.
Adonai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Agid Tehila Techa. Adonai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Agid Tehila Techa. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Lifnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umkayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom eloch, Melech memit umchayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lahachayot ha'akol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
On Shabbat, we bring Torah out into our midst, and not just as a source of learning, but also as a source of hope for us. And of course, this week we open up to Parashat Shalach, which reminds us of the story of our ancestors when Moses sent the scouts into the promised land, and they came back and said they're giants who live there, and we look like grasshoppers in their eyes. And the question is, when do we think of how we look like ourselves to others? But really that shouldn't matter. It's how we see ourselves. And the idea that we see ourselves, again, as all a part of this community, as all a part of this world, as all afforded blessings in life. And a lesson for us to hold on to as we walk with Torah and think of our prayers of Mishaberach, of healing, and those in need in our community. We touch it, we mention their names, we connect together, and we hope that not just a source of hope, but a source of strength Torah can be for us as well. Mishaberach Avatenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov, v'Imotenu Tzrav Kalei Avrachel, Hu Yivrech et Holim, merciful God, who's blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. Send your blessings to our loved ones who are stricken with illness, anxiety, friends, and family we think of at this time. Elissa Otto and Alan Edelberg, Amy Drysdale Outler, Mickey Berg, Doreen Billett, Michael Brody, Karen Kasman, Patty Seresny, Stephen Chadwick, Megan Dox, Brett Eisen, Michael Eisen, Elisheva Bat-Sarah, Barbara Esrig, Richard Finkel, Richard Gotro, Batia Pesha Panina, Andrew Halo, Ava Haber-Kornholm, Ty Hall, Hank Heiser, Ann Horn, Jane Jacobs, Serafina Coffrin, Sarah Miriam, Karen Coltono, Rick Hornspan, Marta Lazar, Henry Leopold, Libby McIntyre, Zoe Marcus, Joyce Maza, Teresa Miji, Allison Mertzman, Tony Michaels, Marlene Miller, Marianne Min, Gail Mintz, Lev Herschel Ben Bet Ami, Linda Newman, Rabbi Robert Nosenchuk, Reza Bat Leah Miriam, Leah Elisheva Bat Avram Vachana, Susan Perlman, Melanie Pohl, Joanne Reed, Rachel Mi Bet Chaim Bachava, Marcy Fisher-Reiners, Julie Robinson, the St. Amman family, Bernard Sklar, Roberta Sanino, Barbara Storm, Leo Tosto, Connie Wahlberg, all those battling the coronavirus. The 32,455 American troops have been injured in Iraq and the surrounding areas to date, and all the names in our hearts. Baruch Atah Nairafel Chalim. Bless you, God, give strength to those in need.
Nicole Habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with Rafua Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשה כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
It's interesting, our tradition that demands certain prayers can be said anytime by anyone, any moment in our lives, but certain prayers we only can say when we're in a minyan of 10 or more, when we're in a community. And of course, the idea of doing that with Kaddish was to protect the mourners, to make sure that mourners were never left alone, that they felt the support of community. And in a night like this, when we're surrounded by so many of us crowded together, you feel that impact. You feel the importance of that. You recognize, even if we don't know who the mourners are in our midst or who actually is thinking of a name at times such as this, they know they're not alone. And we say the prayers together. A prayer that affirms life and reminds us of the blessing of what life is. And so with that in mind, we think of those who have been taken from our midst in this past week and month who Shoshim. We mark friends and family of our congregation. David Foster, Bonnie Rosenberg, Vicky Buckfire, Matthew Van Every, Marilyn Hertzberg, Judith Names Dolson, Bernie Lublin, Andrea Jaros, Larry Traeger, Jean Fiander-Tennant, Shayna Strasburger, Stephen Richmond, Mick Malamud, Eliza Wexler, Lois Fishman, Ken Schiff, Ruth Biegler, as well as the 4,586 Americans of our armed forces who've been killed in Iraq and surrounding areas to date, and those who have lost their lives in the war in Ukraine, of course, and the 1,015,306 Americans who lost their lives to the coronavirus. Linking their names and names whose yortzites we mark on the Shabbat, those anniversary of passing we lovingly commemorate. Molly Alpert, Ruth Biegler, Sheldon Leonard Blair, Sam Bussell, Grace Gerardine Carafelli, Lillian Fishman, Ella Fulton, Shirley Gold, Werner Heilbrunn, Peter Kelly, Leon B. Kiff, Craig Newman, Megan Margarine Lays, Isidore Miji, Arnold Michaelberg, Marlene Miller, Sonny Rogo, Edward Schultz, Marla Scissors, Benjamin Siegel, Paul Sirotkin, Manuel Sklar, Casey Smith, Giorgio Sonino, Eva Yellen, Gerald Zeidman, Beatrice Zektik, Rabbi Bernard Zadowitz. And linking their names, all the names that we do not recite on this Shabbat. Those of every family, of every faith, whose lives have touched ours and been a blessing, as well as those who have no one to stand and say Kaddish for them. So do we join together in the immortal words of the mourners' Kaddish at this time. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrach chirate v'almich ma'achute, b'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, Bagala uvizman kari v'imru. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach le'olam amei amaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit roman v'yit naseh. V'nadar v'nalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Minko berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'miram b'yama v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. The source of peace, and peace to those who mourn, comfort to those who are bereaved here and everywhere, and let us say, amen. Please be seated.
Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Good Shabbos, everyone. Rabbi, good Shabbos.
Shabbos. There are many things that we do celebrate on Shabbat, and one of those things, of course, is the joy of love that a couple has found and that we get to celebrate at this moment. Elizabeth's like, oh, this is our time. Oh, no. And so 1 week, 9 days, 9 days? 9 days before they want, Arthur, you're walking behind me. It's a distraction. You're going to the chuppah in a moment. And so, on the eve of their wedding, which will be on July 3rd, you're all invited, just kidding. We're going to invite Elizabeth Sandler and Jake Mickley up here to join me as we ask of God's blessing upon them as they get ready for their last week before they get married. Come on up, come on up. Oh, the applause are happening. So you're standing here, stand in front of me. Face me here, face me. Hold hands. Just pretend like you like each other. It's all good. Eloheinu v'Elahei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we thank you for all of our blessings. Hey, Leslie, come up here because it's not probably enough, and they can't reach from that back there. They'll never be able to reach. So come in with the family, get them, because we're going to beam them with candy in a moment. Shh, wait, Jake, don't look, don't look, don't look. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Don't look behind you. That's why I had you face this way. So I want to make sure these people in the front. It's a very short blessing. Back to what I was saying. Eloheinu v'Elahei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we thank you for all of our blessings. Most importantly, in this moment, we thank you for the gift of love that you've brought to Liz and Jake in what they share together now. May they always be each other's best friends. May they be able to share so much together in their lives. That which began as, 2008 in a residential college at Michigan State, that then, go green. Just making sure people are paying attention. And then developed into a relationship many moons later. So these past 7 years, as you have grown together as a couple, so as your families have watched you and the love that you've created. So what we ask is that you enjoy each of these moments in your lives together, especially these next 9 days. Don't sweat the small stuff. Enjoy what's most important that you're going through all together, that you're bringing together the most important people in your lives to surround you and share in your love, to feel the goodness that is a part of who you are, and that they love being a part of your life and watching the two of you together. May you create moments that are always special, moments that you celebrate and that you radiate that love that you have that brings more into this world. May you find the goodness, the kindness that each of you exude from your hearts and your souls that have come together. And so with that in mind, I ask you to take this Kiddush cup now. If you hold that together, next time you hold a Kiddush cup, we enter the chuppah, and we give thanks for the sweetness of life and the sweetness of your love as we say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pori hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim.
And we say as well to you, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'achianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Bless you, God, ruler of the universe, who's given us life, sustained us, and brought us to this awesome moment together. We say Amen. You guys turn around, and now you hit them.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'achianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu.
Still coming. It's a shower. Children, come and help clean it up. Anyone wants to come clean it up? Oh, thanks, Oliver. I've got a third basement going back there. You guys don't have to clean it up. You walk off. We even on video who is really throwing hard on that one, Liz, so you can, come back. So, more. What's that? You want? Yeah? Can you guys clean up for a moment? Strong work. You can share it too. Child labor laws is going to be the next Shabbat service we talk about. So, we discussed together what would be special to make this day our Pride Shabbat. And as we mentioned before, the idea of this month is just a reminder of how we want to behave, how we want to think, how we want to love every single month, every Shabbat in our time together. But it's a good reminder, an important message for us. And I called my friend Ron Elkus, who is like sort of a member of Temple Shir Shalom, by extension, because every time he shows up, I always call him out and say hi to him because I love when he's here. And so I asked Ronnie what he thought would be a nice idea, and we came up with this idea together that he sort of initiated, but the Moth radio hour that we enjoy, and telling stories. And who would be better to tell stories than some of our friends from the LGBTQ plus community? And so that's what we're going to do right now. Our services is concluded. Maybe we'll sing a song at the end. We have an oneg to celebrate as well, our bride and groom, thanks to their family, the Sandlers who've made that possible. But for now, for these next few minutes, we pause and we listen to some of our friends and their stories, and what I've asked of each of them is to share a little bit of their journeys. So I'm going to first invite up Ron Elkus, and people are applauding before. So I give him encouragement. Check one. This one's for you. And I have to tell you, when I first came to town in 1995, this is one of the individuals who first welcomed me to town and made me feel loved and made me realize this was my home. And so it's been a wonderful friendship. It's developed even more so over these 27 years, and I'm thrilled that you're on our Bima now and sharing your story. So thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Mike. Well, first of all, I have to just tell you that when Rabbi Mike asked me to do this, I thought to myself, I've never come out publicly. I'm 62 years old and I've never come out publicly. So we should do a Shechianu, but we won't do that. But I thought my favorite thing is the Moth. I listen to it weekly. I love it. But doing it is a whole nother thing. So when Rabbi Mike asked me, it made me think about things that I normally don't think about. Coming out, my journey, what's going on now in this day. And my theme is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, okay? So, and you'll see from my theme that that's what it's gonna be. So I came out to my parents in my late 20s. I was kind of a typical gay kid. I had lots of female friends. I wasn't good at sports, always last picked. So everything that you could possibly think of, typical, okay? However, when I came out to my parents in my late 20s, they thought I was dating a Gentile woman. And so it just goes to show you that in the 80s, it was a totally different world. What did that mean is that in the 80s, it was HIV/AIDS. It was Anita Bryant. It was everything that was scary. It was very lonely. It was very not family. No, you're not going to have kids. You're not going to be, you're going to be all by yourself. And that was my parents' biggest fear. And I get why it took them so long to, not so long, they are beautiful, they're wonderful. My mom has been gone 25 years, but I'm so happy that I did come out when I did, because to be honest, if she was to leave and I wasn't being honest, that would have been really hurtful for me. But anyways, I actually came out to my parents twice. So you're gonna say, how did I come out to my parents twice? Well, and even people in the community don't know this, that I am actually a donor dad. So in my early 30s, I came to my parents and I said, look at, procreation, having a family is what's missing in my life. I really want to do this. However, my dear friends in San Francisco asked me to donate my sperm to them. And that's that could be a whole nother Moth thing, how I donated my sperm, but we won't go into that. But, and especially since we have young kids here, we won't go into that. So I went out to San Francisco, I donated, it was in the height of HIV and AIDS, and had to get tested. But the moms wanted to come to Detroit to see how I live, and also at that time to introduce my parents to the my 2-year-old offspring. So I went to my parents and I said, look I know this is gonna be really hard, but I have a child, and this child is 2 years old, and they're coming to town. Do you want to meet them? And I haven't had a beautiful relationship with my parents, and they were very like, ooh, wow, I'm not sure. Yes, we do want to meet. So that was great. However, there is one little stipulation, was 2 days before the moms were going to arrive with my oldest, and that was she was pregnant with kid number 2. And there was no way to hide kid number 2. So I said, well, 2 days before they were coming, I said, I have one more caveat to tell you. They're pregnant with number 2. Are you okay with that? And of course there was hesitation, and they said yes. And my beautiful, incredibly strong female kids, I don't want to say daughters because that's a whole nother responsibility, I have a beautiful relationship with them. They are 31 and 29. And they are, and it's funny because in my core straight friends, I have the oldest kids, which is really weird. So, but they are beautiful, beautiful women. And strong, and I still have a nice relationship with the moms and, of course, with the kids. So it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And then I was thinking about what just happened today, and that was definitely 1 step back. And if we think that that's going to stop there, Clarence Thomas just said that it's going to go to marriage equality, it's going to go to sodomy, it's going to be it's whatever. And so that's 1 step back. But coming here tonight and coming out is 2 steps forward, and I thank you for that. I told Rabbi Mike that I wanted Cantor Penny to sing if I was over 5 minutes late. So
sing him off. I want to finish as you come back there. Ronnie Elkus was the former owner of the Shirt Box. You can find his writing on. So, thank you, Ronnie. Beautiful story. Really appreciate that. We invite up Hannah and Nicole Figueroa to join up with their son Asher, I think, as well. And I've known Hannah for a long time. She was a participant on Teen Mission 2004 with me when we first were acquainted and developed a relationship and through our journeys together. And then one day she brought Nicole to meet me as well. And they're about to celebrate their 5th anniversary this fall. Yes, it is. 2017.
Wow.
And their son Asher was born 13 months ago, or?
Yeah, about.
But, okay, so let them tell their story.
Okay. We were just up there saying, what are we going to say?
And both of us said we have no idea.
That's how we go. So I'm Nicole, and this is Hannah, and that's Asher.
And baby girl on the way.
Yes, and we have another one on the way in October. We are gluttons for punishment, because we could have chosen how long. There's no accident. So I think the theme that I like to think about in our journey is community. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Kentucky in a interfaith family. My dad is Jewish and my mother is Christian, Catholic. You know, when you grow up in the South and you come out, it's an interesting dynamic. And I think I knew I was gay, or something was, you know, different for me from the moment I entered into elementary school. And, you know, I think when I was 18 years old, I was kind of forced out of the closet. I had somebody tell my parents, and then they kind of confronted me, which is not how you want to come out. You kind of want to have your own identity and tell your family. And soon after that, I moved actually to Michigan and found my community, my first community in Ferndale, Michigan, actually. And we live in Ypsilanti right now, and are actually moving back to Oak Park because that community is so strong. We want to raise our son amongst and daughter amongst other families that look like us, because growing up, I never had examples of what same-sex couples look like who are raising children, and so to be around other couples has been amazing. And so I think community has been amazing for me, and when I met Hannah, being introduced to the Shir Shalom community was something that was amazing. And Rabbi Mike was the first kind of, I will not start crying because he knows this about me, first religious leader that was really accepting of my sexuality. And I will get tearful, and he knows this. Because as a gay kid, you would never think, that you could get married in the religious faith. And it's been something that has been so life-changing. So to know that we have this community, that we could raise our son in a faith-based community and be fully accepted, is something that I don't know if people really realize. Because as a kid, I never thought it was the biggest scare or fear for me would be that I would lose a faith community and I'd lose my family, and which I have not, both. So for me, and I think our story, community has been huge. Anything to add?
I think you covered it all.
So I thank you for your community and our opportunity to come and share a little bit of our story, and hopefully you'll get to see all of our children grow. And just two.
Not all, just two.
No, yeah, two. We'll see. But thank you, and thank you, Rabbi Mike, for having us and for welcoming us into this community, and for our continued journey together.
Thank you, Nicole and Hannah. The two of you have always taught me how to be an ally from day one, and affirmed that in me as I've been on a journey as well in learning how best to be supportive and loving, and learning that too. And so it's been really important. And as our guests who are here and we're hanging out in Oneg, we might not see Nicole and Hannah because it's past Asher's bedtime, and so I said, I understand that. And our last speaker is Ashton Niedzwiecki, and Ashton is going to come and share. His bride is not with him tonight because she's at her bachelorette party, but her family's here to support Ashton, which is really nice. So I welcome Ashton to come forward and share a little bit with us too.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rabbi Mike, for inviting me. I think that I was just really honored that you thought of me and that you invited me to be here. I am trans. I'm a trans man. I grew up in Pinconning. It's a small town in mid-Michigan. If you've driven up north, you've probably noticed all of the cheese signs. So I was born in the 80s, and growing up in a small town, we didn't really have any examples of what a queer person might look like. The only thing that I knew of transness was seeing, an episode of Ricky Lake, and there's a man trapped in a woman's body, and it's played off for laughs, and it's this freak, right? So I had no idea that this was even a thing that a person could really be. And then finally, when I moved to Detroit to come to Wayne State, I started meeting some people who were identifying as trans, and I started to kind of realize, this is a real thing. People can really be happy and fulfilled with this identity. And it still didn't really hit me that this might explain all of those feelings that I had as a kid, that this might actually apply to me, until my best friend that I met when I moved here, Jay, he came out as trans after we met. And that was the first time that I realized that you didn't have to know from the time that you were 4 that you're trans. You can realize this as an adult. So watching him come out and sort of start his transition, that allowed me to really understand for myself that this is true, this is who I am. And finally, I was able to come out to my family. I first came out as a lesbian many years before. Ronnie took my line about coming out twice. Thank you. When I came out as trans, they took it a little bit better than when I came out as a lesbian. I think they just kind of expected it. They saw that 4/5 of my friends were trans, so they were like, okay, this is probably the next step. So I started testosterone. My nieces and nephews, I have 10 of them. They all grew up knowing me as Uncle Ashton, and I've just never felt more happy and more whole and more genuine than being able to just be my true self. And then I met my now wife, Barry. Hi, family. And I've never felt so welcomed from day one as when I first met Barry's family. They just welcomed me into the family, and that's how I feel here today too. I was just sitting here during this service thinking that this is more joy and community than I've ever felt in any other religious service. So good job to you guys. Keep it going, and thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Ashton. All really inspiring, and we greatly appreciate everyone being so open. Ashton and I have joked before that, coming out as trans to his family was one thing, but when he said he was marrying a Jewish woman coming from that part of Michigan, that was the issue. So, they haven't even met me yet. So, really, truly inspiring stories. Thank you, Ron, and Nicole, and Hannah, Ashton, you being so open and wanting to share with us and help us be better allies. Also, Ashton, you talked about role modeling, and Nicole as well, as children. And our hope as a community is that we do role model for our children. And so they recognize that our world is full of all different people. And we can grow up believing whatever we want about who we might be and not be stuck in just one shell. And the openness to understanding that and appreciating that and growing with that. So thanks to Temple Shir Shalom for welcoming this idea and wanting to make this possible, and making so much of what we believe part of our mission as well. And I wanted to thank Noah Arbit, who is Noah here? Who's running for office. I know we're not a political thing too, but he wrote a beautiful letter. He's running as House of Representatives for our 20th district, what Temple is a part of, and talked about his coming out story earlier this week as part of Pride, and I thought it was such a beautiful story too. So, we say Mikal Timidavi Hiskalti, from all our students we learn. So Ron and Hannah, Nicole, Ashton, you've taught us tonight, and you continue to teach us, and we appreciate that as well. So, with that in mind, Motzi, and then we have a nice oneg tonight.
That's right.
And so we can talk Tish if you want, but because it's a short summer service and we want to get to a nice oneg in honor of our bride and groom, and thanks to the Sandlers. Oh, it's gluten. You don't eat this, right? He does? Want to hold this for me? We join together.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread.
Big hollow.
Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
you can go bring some to your grandma. Oh, not to your, oh, right. Well, if you want to walk down the middle, whoever wants to get it. We rise together for our closing prayer. Someone just, yanks them off there. It's all good.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May God bless you. May God protect you.
יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May God's light shine upon you, upon us, and through all of us as individuals and as a community.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישים לך שלום.
May God always be a part of who we are, as individuals, as, again, as a community, as supporters of one another, giving us all of our hopes, all of our blessings, giving us gesund health, success, parnasa, in what we do in our lives, giving us nachas from kinder, joy from children of family. May we have shalom, may we have peace in our heart, in our mind. May we, with strength, bring peace into our world, goodness into our world, kindness into our world, values that we hold on to that love all, as we say, Amen.
וישם לך שלום.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
Our own egg is outside in the patio, and if you haven't signed the petition, Leslie's there in the back, and you can help sign that too.